Hey, Fidelity. What's it cost to invest with the Fidelity app?
Start with as little as $1 with no account fees or trade commissions on U.S. stocks and ETFs.
That's music to my ears.
I can only talk.
Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Zero account fees apply to retail brokerage accounts only. Sell order assessment fee not included. A limited number of ETFs are subject to a transaction-based service fee of $100. See full list at fidelity.com/commissions. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE, SIPC.
The following is a Red Apple Podcast Network presentation.
They say this is a big rich town. I just come from the poet's part. Bright light, city life, I gotta make it.
Welcome to Dominic Carter's podcast. This is Dominic Carter City Hall. Now, here's Dominic Carter.
My own daughter joins me on the podcast for this episode for the very first time ever. Here goes. Dominic Carter, Red Apple Podcast 77 WABC. For the very first time in a broadcast or podcast, my daughter, Courtney Carter DeJesus, a married mom of 2 children who happens to be the mom of my grandkids that Grandpa got to see recently, Carter and Eva. Eva is the star of Courtney's brand new children's book, which is on Amazon, Eva, the Kid Reporter. Thanks for appearing, Courtney.
Hi, pleasure to be here, Dad. How are you?
I'm good. Does it feel a little weird chatting with your dad in this capacity?
Yeah, I guess it does. But, you've always been in broadcast, so I guess I've gotten used to it. But yes, it is like someone's recording our private phone conversations.
So talk to us about, we're going to get into the book, but you're a mom of 2 kids who happens to be my grandkids. Talk to us about what it's like as a parent with this new school year.
Oh, man, it's been a crazy 2 years with COVID, as I'm sure everyone knows, and it's back to school season. And as a parent, it's like you said, it's the first time in 2 years that kids are back to the new normal. The new normal is after COVID. And of course, we know COVID still exists and is still going around. But my kids, their school experience is totally different from before COVID, March 2020, to what it is now. So we're just trying to get back into the swing of things. And I'm sure a lot of parents are too.
And so are things back to normal from what you can tell thus far with the school system, or is this going to be the new normal?
I think it's the new normal, right? I don't think any of us are the same after COVID. We were in lockdown and quarantine, and a lot of things changed for all of us. So I don't think there is any what it used to be. So it's always going to be the new normal. And then a lot of that in-person learning and all the things that the kids learned, it was erased. We were at home for 2 years. But parents that all of a sudden were working but also became teachers like myself. So a lot of the kids lost a lot of in-person learning, and we're just trying to catch up and figure it out.
So now, is it true that this is really the first time in 2 years that kids are back to school?
Yeah, so the year 2020, they were all at home. It was like time was frozen. If you go into their classrooms, they were told, I don't know if you remember, that they'd be out of school for about a week or 2 when COVID first happened. They didn't go back until a year and a half later in person. So they were at home for either full-time 5 days a week or at least 3 to 4 days once 2021 rolled around. They had hybrid learning, but they haven't been back in the classroom full-time since March of 2020.
Wow. Courtney, how tough was it being a parent in the age of COVID?
Oh, it's very tough, and we're still trying to figure it out because, as we mentioned, there's no more normal, right? It's the new normal, as we keep hearing that term, but it's true. Even with my daughter and her daycare, the hours were shortened due to COVID, so there used to be longer hours going until 6:30, and now parents have to rush out of work and get their kids by 5:30, and you can't drop them off as early in the morning. It's all new restrictions. You can't just walk in anymore. And so, everything is different. My kids were sent home all the time because they were considered close contacts from someone that may have had COVID, and they would be home for a week at a time each. So they missed a lot of school. So we're still figuring it out.
Interesting. Very interesting. So you just wrote a kid's book, Eva, the Kid Reporter. Why did you write the book?
Yeah, so my son, as I mentioned, was home with me for basically all of quarantine. So I was working as a reporter. I was sitting at my dining room table, filing reports, going live from my kitchen table. It was a very unique experience, going live from my patio. And he was home with me, doing homework, reading a lot. And so we read a lot of children's books, and it helped us to kind of bond together to get out of that boredom routine of being in quarantine. So with all of that and how I saw that he loved to read, I decided to write my first children's book. So that's where I'm at now with Eva the Kid Reporter.
And you focused on journalism. Why journalism?
Yeah, so this is inspired by myself and my daughter because, as you can attest, Dad, I was a very curious child that asked a ton of questions about everything from why is the sky blue was my favorite question, if you remember that. So there are a lot of curious kids out there, and it just kind of sparked in me that, a lot of kids kind of get silenced sometimes from asking questions, by their teachers, their babysitters in class. They're told to be quiet, but they're just trying to figure out the world around them. So I said, let's put that into one girl, my daughter, who has so much energy, as you know, as her grandpa, and just kind of go into the journalism world and show people what I did and how I used my curiosity and made a career out of it. So that's where I'm at now. And the book is actually available for pre-ordering. You can go to Kickstarter.com and put in my name, Courtney Carter DeJesus. It'll pop right up. It's also on Amazon, and it's on EvaTheKidReporter.com.
And so, yes, I did see it myself on Amazon. And you just mentioned Kickstarter.com. Call that old, but what exactly is that? Is that like a GoFundMe where it helps with marketing costs and stuff like that?
Yes. Well, you are old, but you aside, I'm going to explain it to everybody else. It's a fundraising site online, yes, like GoFundMe. So at least you know that one. That's good. But this helps people get support for their creative projects. So it's just like GoFundMe, but it's for creative projects.
Okay, fair enough. So, folks, if you're just joining us for the very first time ever in a broadcast setting, I'm chatting with my daughter, Courtney Carter DeJesus, the mom of my two grandkids, and Courtney is the brand new author of Eva the Star Reporter, the name of the book. Make sure I get it right here. Courtney, you've been around politics all your life, in a public and private setting. You've been around entertainers like Michael Jackson in a private setting. You've been around Senate Majority Leader Charles Schumer, Hillary Clinton, former President Trump. You've been in Dad's dressing room as I moderated general election debates for mayor of New York City. You have never told the story publicly, to my knowledge, of one of the famous telephone calls you received. Tell us about it.
Oh, okay, that phone call. So, yes, that would be getting a call from the president, and that was very cool. It was President Trump. He called me. I was sitting in my dorm room, and it's not a call you expect to get every day, I'll say that. It was a very unique experience, and it was him on the phone. No one transferred me to him. No one said, hey, hold on, it's, the president. He called me himself and just said, hey, Courtney, how are you? And I said, who is this? He said, it's just Donald Trump. So it was a very interesting experience. It was very kind of him to call personally.
Parents of twins, if you're familiar with far-off drop-offs...
Dad, stop, right here.
Or get DMs about what's for dinner, you may be experiencing tween milestones. For your son or daughter, these can start at age 9. HPV vaccination, a type of cancer prevention against certain HPV-related cancers, can start then too.
For most, HPV clears on its own. But for those who don't clear the virus, it can cause certain cancers later in life.
Embrace this phase. Help protect them in the next.
Ask their doctor today about HPV vaccination. Brought to you by Merck.
And to this day, do we know he just was calling to check up on you in school? Did he wish you well at Syracuse University?
Yeah, he wished me well. And at the time, I was doing pageants as well. And bringing it back to the book, I was told that pageants were good if you wanted to be a reporter because it helped you with your stage presence. And it ended up that being true. A lot of female reporters and anchors like Diane Sawyer and Oprah Winfrey all started out in pageants. So he owned the Miss Universe pageant, which I was partaking in, and he called me to say good luck and to see how I was doing in school and how the pageant was going.
Interesting. So I'm curious. I just want to ask this question of you. Why do you think our politics in this country are so divided?
Do you mean in our family or in the country?
No, not our family, the country.
I'm joking. I think there are just so many issues right now to be divided on. And I think that things have become very extreme on both sides. That's, the left or the right. And when you add that into what's going on with COVID and all these restrictions in schools and vaccinations, there's so many things to discuss and be passionate about that you're either for the left or for the right, and there seems to be no middle ground anymore. So I think there's just so many things to be divided about as a country right now.
So let me put this question to you, and then I want to speak to my grandson for a hot second. But how would Mom and I would have reacted if we ever heard you or your brother use the N-word?
Oh, wow. That's never happened. I don't think that it would. I'll tell you this: it wouldn't be a very good reaction at all.
Okay.
We don't use that word itself.
How would your mom and I react if we ever saw your brother walking around with his jeans hanging down off his backside?
Oh, I mean, as far as I remember, we had that conversation, and before anything, he got older, and we said, that's just not acceptable. So that's not something that me or Dominic ever did. We always dressed properly and dressed the way we wanted to be treated, which is to have respect and be respected. So we were just, guided in the right direction, and we've never had an issue in terms of dressing that way. But you guys would have not been too fond of that.
And how would we react if we were ever told by the police that you or your brother had talked back to them or been disrespectful?
Well, police are authority figures, right? So we were always taught as young kids to respect your authority figures, whether that's, a teacher or a police officer or, the principal of your high school, anyone. So it wouldn't have been a good conversation if we would have shown disrespect. We were taught to respect our authority figures, and that's what we did.
So I want to go full circle here. I'm known for my lightning round of questions where politicians could only answer yes or no in between. So I want to do a quick word association. The first few words that come to your mind, Courtney. And as I start the word association, what are the first few words that come to your mind when I say dad?
Why did you start with the toughest one? I would say, based on this conversation, too, ridiculous.
Ridiculous? Okay.
Ridiculous.
All right. How about mom?
That's a fun word, though, right? Someone's ridiculous. Yeah. Mom, I would just say mom. Mom is a classic mom, very giving and always making sure we have everything we need. So literally mom word is associated with mom.
Your brother, Dominic.
I would say the word kind. He's very nice.
The state of Rhode Island.
Home. It's my hometown now.
Kim Kardashian.
Curveball. I would say definitely Kanye.
Okay. And so I close with you this way. For folks that want to contact you about being a parent as you are, or about your brand new book, how can they do so?
Yeah, so they can find me on Kickstarter.com and put in my name, Courtney Carter DeJesus. That's DeJesus. And they can find me right there. They can find me on Amazon. Eva the Kid Reporter is the name of the book. They can find me on evathekidreporter.com, and they can also find me on your social media channels. You have the links and my information all over your channels if they like your Facebook and Instagram and Twitter.
Wonderful. Let me just chat with my grandson for a second.
All right, I'll put him on. This is his first, interview, so give him some grace, Grandpa. Don't grill him like you do with the politicians, okay?
Okay, I promise. Right. I promise.
All right, let's put him on. Say hi, Carter. Hi.
Hi, Carter. How are you?
Good.
How's school going?
Good.
Good. What do you like about school?
That they give us no homework.
You like that they give you no homework. Well, recently you can't. Go ahead.
What's the point of homework if you learn enough at school?
Okay. So recently you came to see Grandma and Grandpa. Did you have fun? What did you do?
I had fun. I went in the pool. I went to Dunkin'. We went food shopping.
And you learned how to chop wood, remember?
Yep, and also I learned how to cross the street, not straight, not diagonally.
Right. You learned how to cross the street. And so you also have a YouTube channel, right?
Yep.
Carter, do you have a YouTube channel?
Yes.
And you post your videos every now and then, correct?
Yep.
Okay, and I'll close this way. So you like school?
A little bit.
Okay, so Carter, that's it. You did great. Tell Mom I said thank you and that I'll be in touch, okay?
Okay.
All right, tell her I said bye-bye.
Okay, and also I'm going to try to post a video next weekend.
Well, thank you to my grandson, Carter. And Carter, please share that with your mom as we bring this segment to a close. Folks, if you are interested in my daughter's book, Eva the Kid Reporter, she currently has advanced copies available. Simply go to Kickstarter.com and enter the name Courtney Carter DeJesus, or you can go to Amazon or to Courtney's website, EvaTheReporter.com. You can catch me on 77 WABC weeknights, midnight to 1 a.m. Go check out the Dominic Carter merchandise at the 77 WABC store, from Dominic Carter t-shirts to hats and much more. Go to WABCRadiostore.com.
Dominic Carter Socials on Twitter at Dominic TV and Facebook and Instagram, Dominic Carter TV. Email at dominic.carter@wabcradio.com. Until the next episode, be well. And as Dominic always says, stay positive. The glass is always half full, never half empty. Dominic Carter City Hall.